Ferrari's brilliant start to the season hasn't taken long to turn into an absolute horror show, as they just can't get on top of the F175's engine reliability issues. Lower down the order though, Daniel Ricciardo's unpredictable season continues to unfold with McLaren trying to overcome their own pace issues. So from Verstappen's charge toward the title to Leclerc's power woes, here's everything that's fresh in the world of Formula One. First up, the car's engine problems continue despite gains. Ferrari turned up at the start of the season looking like serious title contenders, and it didn't take long for Charles Leclerc to open up a big gap to Max Verstappen in the championship either, as Red Bull tried to overcome their own mechanical issues. However, the tables have turned since then, and now it's the Scuderia who find themselves struggling to keep up. Not only have they lost a bit of pace on the straight line against their closest rival, but they've also developed a bit of a habit of not finishing the race with both drivers. As a matter of fact, it's been a while since we've seen both Ferrari drivers on the podium. Oh, and at one point, Leclerc even lost his second place in the championship standings. So yeah, the issues are piling up for them, and as of now, there doesn't really seem to be a way out for them. Up next, Max Verstappen opens up a gap at the top. Now, Baku was a big turning point for the championship. Not only did Ferrari flop and DNF with both of their cars, but Charles Leclerc also lost the lead in the Drivers' Championship to Max Verstappen. Of course, it's not like he could have done anything about it, as he was still on course to catch the Red Bulls when his engine blew out. On the other side of the Scuderia's garage, Sainz had similar issues and ended up having to park his car and retire it. From that point, we saw a relentless run of form from Red Bull as they continued to rack up victory after victory. And as a result, Verstappen managed to open up a gap of over 40 points in the championship by the time we arrived at Silverstone. With that said, chalking the Dutchman's success to Ferrari's woes would be a bit disingenuous, since he's been on fire since the start of the season. We mean, Leclerc still got the most pole positions out of anyone on the grid this season, but race pace is a whole other story. On race day, the reigning champ looks absolutely unbeatable in that car, and always manages to find himself in the lead after the opening lap. On top of that, even with a massive piece of debris stuck to his car at Silverstone, he still managed to finish in 7th place, which is incredible considering the fact that most people would have retired the car at that point. Now, there's still some hope for Ferrari. Obviously, many people would also chalk Ferrari's slip-up to their horrendous strategy calls, especially for Charles Leclerc. For instance, at Monaco, they could have easily pitted him earlier to stop a Sergio Perez undercut. And in Silverstone too, they left him out to dry as he struggled to compete against much faster cars on soft tires. What's fascinating, however, is the fact that these situations are easily avoidable, yet the Scuderia continues to screw up. Like, there's a hard and fast rule in Formula One. If you've got slower tires and a safety car comes out, you have to pit. Plus, at the British Grand Prix, there's literally no point in retaining track position, since, well, it's super easy to overtake. Now, Carlos Sainz seems to have learned his lesson, as he's started to defy team orders to save his race. For instance, he did that in Monaco to get a podium, and also got his first win at Silverstone thanks to his own wits. The Monegasque, on the other hand, is a bit more compliant and hasn't really gone rogue yet, which some might say has cost him dearly in races. With that said, it's not like he's lost the championship already. Like, yes, he's trailing by almost 40 points, but over the past couple of races, he's made some pretty significant gains too. Take Silverstone, for example. Leclerc could have easily taken a podium and closed the gap by over 10 points. However, despite things not going his way, the 24-year-old still managed to gain 6 points on Verstappen. And the following weekend in Austria was also a good one for him, as he won his first Grand Prix in months, while also deducting 5 more points from Verstappen's lead. And now, they're only 38 points apart, which isn't as much as you'd think. Seriously, all it takes is a DNF from Red Bull and the championship race is back on. However, there's one thing that's still holding back Ferrari. Now, a Verstappen DNF to put Leclerc back into the championship fight isn't an outlandish suggestion. Besides, we've seen the Dutchman close a similar gap at the start of the season anyway. The issue, however, is that currently, the only team that looks like it's going to have a DNF is Ferrari. As we've mentioned earlier, the F175 isn't the fastest car in a straight line. Instead, it's mainly main strength lies in the corners, as it's an absolute beast when it comes to producing downforce. However, while that extra cornering speed has been great for the Scuderia during qualifying, the same couldn't be said for races. You see, during races, straight line speed matters a lot because most of the overtakes are done through the DRS zone. And this is exactly why Red Bull's managed to capitalize on its strengths and has won so many races this season. So to compensate for the lack of pure pace, you can either reduce drag or turn up the engine. And Ferrari seems to have turned up its engine to 11, which in turn has also reduced its life. Like, the amount of power unit blowouts that they've had so far this season isn't normal. Plus, they've already started to rack up engine penalties, which is never a great sight at this point of the season. Oh, and let's not forget, they were on course for a 1-2 in Austria, which again was squandered due to Carlos Sainz's power unit blowing up. Also, even though he won the race, Leclerc had some other bizarre issues with his throttle paddle, so they just seem very fragile and prone to errors, which is definitely not the quality of a championship-winning team. Next up, let's talk about Daniel Ricciardo's run of form. Alright, time to pivot over to Daniel Ricciardo, who's had a really strange season so far. Like, not only has he been part of a struggling McLaren team, but he's also kinda lost his mojo himself. For instance, last year, he finished almost 40 points behind his teammate Lando Norris despite winning at Monza. And this season, things don't look much different for him. If there's any saving grace for the Aussie though, it's the fact that he's produced brief flashes of brilliance during some race weekends, dragging that McLaren to a top 10 finish. And to be honest, it would be a pretty big deal if the papaya orange car does manage to match its P4 from last season, as the team's being hounded by Alpine and Alfa Romeo behind them. Baku in particular was a great one for the Honey Badger though, as he finished ahead of his teammate and grabbed a nifty P8 finish. With that said, it's been a season of ups and downs for him, as he comes to terms with the fact that maybe this car just isn't well suited to his driving style. As a matter of fact, the Australian's current form has kinda opened up a whole Pandora's box of issues for him, with social media continuing to speculate on his contract situation. Finally, Ricciardo opens up about his future. You know things are bad when your boss decides to talk about ways to terminate your contract in public. And that's exactly what happened with Danny Ric, as McLaren CEO Zak Brown suggested that there's a mechanism in the Australians' deal that would allow them to end it earlier. With that said, Brown has since clarified that he was just answering a question and doesn't actually have any intention of axing Ricciardo from the team. Still, it's not like there hasn't been pressure on the driver from the media and fans. Also, while he's been pretty good at navigating through these issues with honest statements, things kinda got out of hand over the weekend. Now, for context, the Aussie's McLaren contract runs out at the end of 2023, and according to reports, the Honey Badger could be out of the sport altogether at that point. Oh, and his team also recently announced the signing of an IndyCar driver, without actually specifying if it was F1 related or not. So amidst all this drama, Daniel Ricciardo had to post a statement on Instagram saying that he's got every intention of staying at McLaren until his contract runs out. Plus, even beyond that, he's not looking to exit the sport or anything, since, in his words, he still loves what he does. It would be interesting though to see where he eventually lands after 2023. After all, at 33, it's not like he's getting any younger. That's a wrap for this video. What team should Ricciardo sign for after his contract with McLaren runs out? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.